guys, it's Alisa and I am back with another mimicking or imitation lesson. So this is really important because it's going to help you improve your speaking skills so that you can have better conversations with native speakers. It will also help you be able to hear what they are saying a little bit better too. So our goal in this video is to help you improve your pronunciation, your tone, your intonation, your connected speech. And we are going to talk about food today, one of my favorite topics. So you'll get to hear a little bit about how we would actually talk about that as well. So we are going to do this in 4 parts. If you've already seen one of my imitation videos and you know what to do, then you can skip this part and go here in the video. All right, so if you're new here or you just need a refresher on how this works, in the first part, you are just going to listen to what I say. So I've written a little monologue about food and I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it just like I normally would, as if I were talking to a friend. So I want you to really pay attention to my facial expressions, listen to how my voice gets faster and slower. It goes up and down depending on what I'm talking about, what I'm emphasizing, how excited I am. Pay attention to all of these things because that is so important in English. So much of English is about how you say something, not just what you say. In the second part of the lesson, you are going to repeat after me. So I'm going to slow down. That way you can hear all of the sounds of a word. The words will be up on the screen so that you can say them too. You can also look in the description below. There will be a link to the script so that you can follow along with it there as well. In the third part of this video, you're going to shadow me. That means you're going to say the monologue with me at the same time. So in this case, I'm going to go faster than I do in part 2, but maybe not always as fast as I do in part 1. We'll be a little bit in between. That way you can follow along with me. And in the fourth and final part of the video, the goal is for you to be able to make your own monologue about food or something else for that matter. And I'm just going to point out the way that I structure and phrase things, maybe a little bit of vocabulary, so that you can really understand how native speakers naturally speak, how we naturally structure and phrase sentences so that you can do it too. Okay, so let's get going with part 1, listen. I'm going to say the monologue and you should just listen to what I say. Make sure you're watching my facial expressions and you're seeing how my voice changes as I say different things. So let's talk about food. I love to eat and I love to cook. I find cooking very satisfying. Not just because I love to do it, but because I also love to shop for food. Call me crazy, but I think the grocery store might be my favorite store. I love to roam the aisles and see what interesting ingredients I can use in some latest dish I saw on a food blog or a cooking video. I love picking out produce. I'll get excited the night before when I know I'm going grocery shopping the next day. I don't know what it is, but I just love shopping for food, whether it be at a farmer's market or the grocery store. And I love to cook. I spend more time than I'd like to admit roaming food blogs and cooking videos. I'm not going to lie, sometimes I spend hours a day on this habit. I just enjoy finding new recipes to try and seeing if I can make them. Once I make something, I'm always evaluating how I can make it better. Can I cook something a little bit less? Should I add an ingredient at a different time? I'm like a mad scientist trying to figure out how to make the perfect dish. The only thing is, it can be extremely time consuming. So my new goal is to prep my food twice a week so I can spend a little less time in the kitchen. Unfortunately, I never know what I want to make until the last minute. So my prep really just involves chopping vegetables. But I cook a lot of vegetables, so it can save me a lot of time. It doesn't really matter though, because I love cooking, even if it takes up hours of my day. Those are usually some of my favorite hours. Okay, so that is it. So hopefully you saw how my voice would change as I would say different things, and you want to make sure that you do that too when you are speaking English. It's very, very important. Okay, so on to step 2. So now you are going to repeat what I say. So again, the words will be up on the screen for you, and if you would prefer, you can go in the description and there's a link that will give you the script. When we do this, I really, really want you to pay attention to all of the sounds that I say. Pay attention to the beginning of the word, beginning of the word. Pay attention to the end of the word. See if you can catch the D's and the T's at the end of words. Pay attention to each syllable that I say. I'm going to slow down so that you can hear all of the different parts of the word and you can mimic that. And then once you have that down, you can start to say things faster. All right, so let's go. So let's talk about food. I love to eat and I love to cook. I find cooking very satisfying. Not just because I love to do it, but because I also love to shop for food. Call me crazy, but I think the grocery store might be my favorite store. I love to roam the aisles and see what interesting ingredients I can use in some latest dish. I saw on a food blog or cooking video. I love picking out produce. I'll get excited the night before when I know I'm going to go grocery shopping the next day. I don't know what it is, but I just love shopping for food. Whether it be at the farmer's market or the grocery store. And I love to cook. I spend more time than I'd like to admit roaming food blogs and cooking videos. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I spend hours a day on this habit. I just enjoy finding new recipes to try and seeing if I can make them. Once I make something, I'm always evaluating how I can make it better. Can I cook something a little bit less? Should I add an ingredient at a different time? I'm like a mad scientist, trying to figure out how to make the perfect dish. The only thing is, it can be extremely time-consuming. So my new goal is to prep my food twice a week. So I can spend a little less time in the kitchen. Unfortunately, I never know what I want to make until the last minute. So my prep really just involves chopping vegetables. But I cook with a lot of vegetables, so it can save me a lot of time. It doesn't really matter though, because I love cooking. And even if it takes up hours of my day, those are usually some of my favorite hours. We did it! Okay, so that is our repetition part. Hopefully you were able to notice all of the different sounds in those words and syllables, and you were able to say those too. All right, so now for part 3, it is time for you to shadow me. So you are going to say this monologue at the same time that I am. So again, the words will be on the screen, or you can go in the description to the link and get a copy of the script. We're definitely gonna go a lot faster than we just did in part 2. If you need to slow down the video, you can do that on YouTube. You can do that in the settings. You have 3 different options for how slow you want the video to go. All right, so say this with me at the same time. So let's talk about food. I love to eat and I love to cook. I find cooking very satisfying, not just because I love to do it, but because I also love to shop for food. Call me crazy, but I think the grocery store might be my favorite store. I love to roam the aisles and see what interesting ingredients I can use in some latest dish I saw on a food blog or a cooking video. I love picking out produce. I'll get excited the night before when I know I'm going to go grocery shopping the next day. I don't know what it is, but I just love shopping for food, whether it be at the farmer's market or the grocery store. And I love to cook. I spend more time than I like to admit roaming food blogs and cooking videos. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I spend hours a day on this habit. I just enjoy finding new recipes to try and seeing if I can make them. Once I make something, I'm always evaluating how I can make it better. Can I cook something a little bit less? Should I add an ingredient at a different time? I'm like a mad scientist trying to figure out how to make the perfect dish. The only thing is, it can be extremely time consuming. So my new goal is to prep my food twice a week so I can spend a little less time in the kitchen. Unfortunately, I never know what I want to make until the last minute, so my prep really just involves chopping vegetables. But I cook with a lot of vegetables, so it can save me a lot of time. It doesn't really matter though, because I love cooking, and even if it takes up hours of my day, those are usually some of my favorite hours. All right, part 3 done. And so now I just want to point out a few things to help you have conversations that sound a little more natural. So there are 2 idioms that I use in this monologue that you might not be that familiar with. One is call me crazy. So call me crazy can, refer to someone's mental health status. But in this case, it's just saying, I know maybe this is a little unusual or a little unfamiliar or might not sound like the truth, but it is. So it's like, I know what I'm about to say is a little bit different, but I'm going to say it anyway. And so in this case, you're almost like preemptively poking fun at yourself. Like, I know this is going to sound crazy, but the grocery store is my favorite store. It's true. It is a particular grocery store that is my favorite store. But yeah, everything I said is true. Call me crazy, don't call me crazy, don't care. But call me crazy just is acknowledging that you're saying something that's a little bit unusual. The other one I say is, I'm not gonna lie. And that's really very similar. It has a very similar meaning. You're basically just saying you're going to admit something. I'm going to tell you something that might be embarrassing, might be unusual, but I'm going to tell you and it's the truth. So I'm not going to lie, but I have spent maybe 4 or 5 hours looking at cooking videos and reading food blogs. So I'm basically just saying I'm about to tell you the truth. And that truth can be something, fun, like I spend way too much time looking at food, or it can be something that is very serious. It can be something negative. It can be something positive. It doesn't really matter what it is, but whatever you're going to say should be true. It should be just like the honest truth. So another phrase that I say that is kind of going to announce that I'm saying something unusual is, I don't know what it is. And you're basically saying, this might seem a little bit strange. It might not. I don't know. But I'm announcing that I'm going to say something that might sound a little bit unusual. It doesn't mean it's going to be super crazy and super weird, but you're just kind of announcing, I know this is a little bit different, but this is how I feel, or this is how I am. I don't know what it is, but I love it. And usually we follow this up by feeling, I don't know what it is, but I am not a fan. I don't really like him. I don't know what it is, but that's just always been my favorite. So you're saying, I know this is going to sound a little bit different, and I don't really have a concrete, a firm explanation. So I don't have like 3 really solid reasons for why I feel the way I feel, but this is what it is. I don't know what it is, but this is what I think. I went over so and the different ways that can be used in lesson 1. You should check that out if you haven't, because I use so quite a bit. It is definitely one of those nothing words that is being added into the way that we speak English these days. And if you want to sound like a native, you might want to start using so, at least if you want to sound like an American. One of the phrases that you keep hearing me say is I love. And if you've watched any of my IELTS videos, you know that I am big on sentence variety for that exam. But the truth is, people tend to repeat themselves when they're talking. And they'll especially repeat phrases when they're talking about how much they like or dislike something. I've noticed that the more you like something or dislike something, the more you will kind of repeat I love, I hate, whatever that phrase is that you've attached yourself to. But what I want you to notice is the different ways that I said I love. So usually my tone would change when I say I love. I love cooking. I love food. So you say it in a different way. So instead of having variety in the words that you use, you have variety in the way that you say the words. So if you're going to keep repeating the same phrase, which is totally natural and normal, you want to make sure that you're saying it in a different way. That way it's interesting to the person that is listening to it. But also, I mean, I'm not thinking, wow, how can I make this interesting to the person I'm talking to? But what I'm thinking is, I love food. And it's just, I'm emphasizing it. I'm emphasizing it to you. And I know I've said it many times. I'm not counting in my head, oh, you said this 5 times, you got to say it differently this time. But no, I'm emphasizing it. I keep using that phrase naturally, really without thinking about it on purpose. But I'm using it to emphasize how much I really do love food and love cooking. And so if you need to go back and watch that, especially the first way that I said it, part 1 and part 3, you can really definitely see how I changed the way I say I love, even though I say it a million times in this video. One of the things you also see in this monologue is me explaining myself. And I do this all in one sentence, and it tends to be a 3-part sentence. So I'll make a statement, and then I tend to give you 2 reasons why I feel the way I feel, or I think what I think. So you get 3 different clauses. So it's the statement, the first reason, and the second reason. And again, this is just what naturally comes out of me. I'm not planning this. I really literally did not know what I was going to say. I just knew I was going to talk about food, and I talked into my phone, and this is what happened. So this really is just the natural way that we speak and that this came out of me. So I do this at least twice. So the first time I do it, I say, I find cooking very satisfying, not just because I love to do it, but because I also love to shop for food. So we have 3 parts. So I find cooking very satisfying is the thing I'm telling you. That's our headline. I find cooking very satisfying. Not just because I like to do it. So in saying that, I'm telling you, I like to do it. I like to cook. But also because I like to shop for food. That's the other thing. I like to shop for food. So I find cooking satisfying because I like to cook and because I like to shop for food. So I'm telling you the thing and I'm giving you 2 different reasons. But the way that I do it is a little bit different. So I tell you my reason. I find cooking very satisfying. I assume that you're like, oh, of course you do because you like cooking. Yeah, I do like to cook. And I'm telling you, not just because I like to cook. So I know this is the obvious thing. The obvious reason would be that I like to cook. But I'm going to give you another reason. I'm going to give you a less obvious reason, which is that I love to shop for food. And that's why I phrase it that way. So I find cooking very satisfying, not just because I love to cook, but also because I like to shop for food. So hopefully you can see that. So that's a fun little sentence structure that you can test out if you want to. If you want to put it in the comments below, I'll take a look at it and tell you if your sentence makes sense. If you haven't checked out my first imitation lesson, then you definitely want to do that. I will make sure I put a link to it in the description below. It's a great way for you to get more little natural things that we say that you can try out in your conversation. They will definitely help you improve your speaking skills. The other thing that you want to do is use fun vocabulary, and I'll make sure that I put links in the description below to a playlist of a bunch of vocabulary words. I will see you guys next time. Bye.